I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, I'm speaking with R.L. Porter. He is a highly respected author, most notably for the emotionally stirring novel, Samantha. The book traces the journey of a young and resilient Samantha who learns early on that independence, both financial and intellectual, is paramount, yet finds herself grappling with external forces that seek to exploit her vulnerability and compromise her autonomy. We're delighted to have Ron join us today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Authors Reputation Press for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel. Ron, good to talk to you today.
My pleasure.
Quite a story you have written. Why don't you give the folks at home the big picture? What is Samantha all about?
Oh, wow. When I was a younger guy, I really was once. You look at me and you think, oh, that guy's never younger. But I met a guy. He's a character in the book. In the book, he's called Franco. He's a DEA agent. He had a whole lot to talk about suspects really, that was at Fort Walters, Texas, when I got back to Vietnam. He had all these people earmarked as issues. So he'd bring me a picture. I was on the way a flat line. He walks up, heavy-set guy, Popeye arm thing, and asked me if I knew these people. I did not. And we just kind of got to know each other, and then he told me a lot about his work, something I'd never want to do, but he did. His name is Franco. And then, of course, Samantha, she's a combo of a friend of my wife and the wife of my character in there, Ken. Mm-hmm. Kind of a battered gal. And I threw in the part about the other gal that we knew very well because she could get herself in trouble with any gum machine or something. She could just find trouble. And then with Ken himself, that was a first lieutenant who was, I think, in a guard unit. And the guard unit got deployed in Vietnam, but he did not go. And he had a complex about that or something, I'm not sure. Boy, he was a rough character to live close to, and we did live about 4 houses away from him. Kind of those guys. I just spun the story kind of like Franco was telling me, and somewhat like Ken was as a person.
Gotcha. And how long did it take you to write this? You kind of had the storyline in your head, obviously, for a while. And what was putting it down on paper?
I was an automobile dealer. And my son had gone to California to school, excuse me. And he was making a living selling, writing and selling generic stuff that could be used in any plot, I guess, any sitcom. I just got to writing, thinking about things. I wrote 10 Days in Dallas, never even tried to publish it. I wrote Free to Choose. I did, but a filmmaker bought it for peanuts and never did much with it. And then I wrote Mason Money, stuff like that. I got thinking, well, I'll write something I know something about. I started probably in 97 or 8, I'm in there. 06 maybe. I just kind of took my time trying to remember all this stuff. And it was much pressure on my mind because that was like 30 years after, or 26, 8 years after I actually knew these.
Gotcha. Now, your book centers on exploitation, victimization, self-determination. Tell us a little bit about these themes that recur in the book.
When Samantha and her daughter showed up at this mountain getaway, it was a place where people owned a cabin but wasn't there, and the weather was the issue, and is often left alone. And there was some these subversive guys, sort of infiltrated that, and they just lived in any place they could find that wasn't well protected. Mm. And I found out about that from that kid, and Franco. So I made that a prime element in much of the scene. And then there's the guy who, kind of the hero. He was just kind of really checking on Franco, some, and Franco's partner, but he was up in there a lot. Anyway, I made that a part of the scene. then the house burning down. That goes back to the character that I made Samantha sort of a part of.
Mm.
And it was really a fire. It didn't really level the house, but damage. Anyway, I just blended that all in, Mr. Crawford, and I think I really liked the story after I read it.
Yeah.
I think I did better than I thought I was going to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's an amazing story. Have you pictured it as a series or a movie at all?
I haven't. I'm working on one now, though. No, the movie, yeah. I've never talked to a filmmaker about it. My son, that writer's strike and everything, they're not doing much over there, but it is one. It would not be economically friendly to a producer, having to have them burned down and being in 3 or 4 parts of the country. I'm sure they'd have a library of films, they could cut and paste and all that.
Right.
That would be kind of expensive. But the one I'm working on now, I have some ambitions about that. I grew up in West Texas on this little farm. My dad died when I was 4. I left home. I had $46 and half a tank of gas and a track scholarship.
Mm.
Well, all of that evaporated because I wasn't fast enough to have a track scholarship. And I was in love with this girl. Her name was Sylvia. I mean, I was crazy about everything. So I just kind of from there, I got to, I was reclassified 1A. I spent 5.5 years on Sam's Army, and I flew combat aircraft, 303 missions, and come back wondering how in the world I lived through it. And then with a partner, we built Scottsdale Honda in Scottsdale, and same partner, we built Acura in Phoenix. Mm. Well, I was up back. But I always had this very story we were talking about on my mind. And when I got that done, what kept haunting me was to write something about where I grew up, which was this book. The name of this, book will be in film. I hope will be "Don't Cry for Texas."
Right.
I grew up on this farm about an hour south of where this was supposed to have occurred. And with a friend, I went out there. I looked it all over. I mean, it's prime to write a great story about it. The areas on the north bank of the Canadian River in Panhandle, Texas, and maybe a horseback, it'd be like half a day's ride west of Amarillo. And there's a big railroad track that was common to that area just about the time that this story began. And it is, I'll tell you, Mr. Crawford, it is a fun story because I'm not putting anything in there it takes too much of imagination to realize this real well could have been exactly the way it was. Gotcha. But I only know 2 people that are related to anybody that was there at that time. And they think I'm goofy. So,
That's
anyway,
something.
I'm going to write a story that ain't very goofy.
Yep, I'm sure. You got a working title for that yet?
It's Don't Cry for Texas.
Oh, that's right. Don't Cry for Texas. Love the title, that's for sure. And Samantha, are you planning any sequels to that or telling more about the story?
Not so much. That was, I had thinking a lot about that. Like, person that is part of I depicted Samantha as, well, she's still alive. Mm. Some of the things that happened to that lady, I'm sorry about it. I kind of see where it came from. But I kind of don't want to mess with that too much, because I feel it well. It's not anyway. We can make this her. We can do that. No way. But it might be offensive if she would read this. I think. I hope not.
Yeah, hope not as well. Tell me a little bit about your writing. It seems like you've had a very varied career, from Air Force pilot, it sounds like, or Army pilot, and your car dealerships. When did you get the writing bug?
Well, from my son. He was he had this. He went to a junior college, then to UCLA, and his education included creative writing, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And he started writing to bills, and he wrote episodes for Just Shoot Me and others. And he wrote a movie, and he started the movie, and And so I kind of, back and forth shop talk with those guys. You know, I'm thinking, I think I'll give that a try.
Yeah.
I think that's really where I kind of started, just a little bit of a competition there with my son.
Well, that's exciting. Your son has an exciting career, and it sparked a fire in you, and you've come up with an incredible story called Samantha. It is a stirring novel that takes a look at a young woman who is resilient and strong, but learns early on that her independence, both financial and intellectual, is paramount. But there are forces that seek to exploit her along life's journey. Ron, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
But certainly thanks for calling me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Enjoyed speaking with you. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time until next time on Spotlight.
You're most welcome.